What's going on YouTube? It is Mr. Ferguson here once again. Thank you guys for coming back for another video here on the Mr. Ferguson vlog channel as we continue with the topic that we talked about last week about it's kind of my testimony, but we're going to be talking about addiction, and I'm basically giving you a lot of my life story, my life testimony leading up to how I found myself in addiction. And it wasn't from a broken home, it wasn't from a home filled of drugs and alcohol, it was from a good godly home. But I thank you for coming back, and if you didn't watch part one, I would encourage you to pause this video so that it makes sense to you. Go back, watch part one, come back, this is part two, watch part two here, and it'll make more sense to you. So diving back in, I'm not going to recap what we talked about previously in the last video. I just need you to go back and watch that one and come back here. But we had gotten to where I'm in high school. Steven's kind of letting loose and feeding the flesh, being a bad example for my high school buddies. God is trying to wake me up now with losing my job, totaling my car in the same weekend. I knew God was saying, boy, get your life together. And throughout this time, these high points and these low points, I should say, that I'm telling you guys, I was coming to God saying, all right, Lord, I give up. You know, there was a time I remember going out and taking some of the music, the CDs. My dad's like, what is this? What is this filth in your car? Why are you listening to this? You need to get this out of your life. And I prayed and said, God, I don't want this in my life. I took the CDs out, took my little 12 gauge and blew them away. Was like, I'm free, Lord, you know, and was doing those things. And then it would slowly creep back into my life. And so as we move on, I eventually decided, what am I going to do job-wise? I wasn't much of a school guy. I didn't enjoy, I knew in high school I did not want to go to college. I was not a college material type guy. I hated sitting there. I wanted to work. I'm a worker. Clearly with the lawn care thing, I enjoy being out here today working in lawn care. I like working. I'm good at my work when I have a goal and have a vision for what I want to do, but I knew I didn't want to go to college. So I started a job, as I mentioned last video, got fired from that job. So now I find myself like, what am I going to do? So eventually my dad suggests, well, what about the military? And I said, pfft. So 9/11 has just happened at my old job before I got fired. I watched some of that, listened to it when 9/11 happened. And so I am seeing some of these images of the guys overseas, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then Dad's like, well, what about the military? And it angered me what happened on 9/11. I was like, this is my country. I want to defend my country. It's why I wear, you know, my nation. Even though my nation is fallen from God, I was like, I want to defend my nation. So I went to the National Guard. He's like, what about National Guard? You won't go off full time and go overseas and be gone for years, but you'll still stay at home yet be in the military. And I said, okay, I'll go check it out. So I went, took the test, thought I'm never really going to do this. So I took the test. The test was like a 3-hour test. I thought it was going to be a quick, just jot down what you know. Halfway through it, I'm like, man, I ain't got time for this. I ain't really going to do this. And I just started guessing and rushing through the last half of the test. Turns out, because I did that, I ended up getting like a 50%. I was dead average on the nation of that ASVAB test because I didn't take the time to properly do it. I could have retook it, but I never did. But I kind of was like, I ain't doing this. Well, they call me, yeah, we want you to join, do this. I'm like, okay. So I came and did the whole MEPS thing, went downtown Raleigh early one morning, swore in, said, okay, I'm going to do it. Swore in, and my date to go to basic training was like 7 or 8 months out because so many people was joining the military at the time right after 9/11. It was backed up from people joining voluntarily to serve our nation. So there's 3 of us from my high school that I hang out with, as now we're all going National Guard. We're all going in the military. And so one of my even though I signed up first, my buddy goes off to Oklahoma first, then I go to Fort Benning, Georgia for training, and then my other buddy goes to Fort Benning as well. But during that time, it was tough. It's the first time I'd ever been fully away from home, away from mommy and daddy. I was like, this is a mistake. The first couple of days, I had a girlfriend that I was with, I was being sexually active with, and you know, she was not the right person for me. Her heart was not for God. It was just a lust thing. And I was like, I want to be back home. This is a mistake. But I wanted to go and do the military thing, but I didn't. I was like, what am I doing? Why am I here? But afterwards that went away. I got in the rhythm. And on Sundays they offered the chance to go to church. And I went to one of the church services. They have Pentecostal services and Catholic services. I said, I want to go to Pentecostal. So they even let me. And I walked all the way down to this church. And I don't know, to this day, I have no idea what church did it. But I walked into this church And I sat in the pews not knowing what to expect. And these soldiers that come from the base, I guess, gathered, plus you got us from basic training, there's soldiers raising their hands. They're singing the same music that we hear at New Hope Worship Center at my church. And this guy's preaching the Bible and talking about the Holy Spirit. And I'm just like, this is home in Georgia. And every Sunday I would go, even though I was still saying words, even though I was still trying to fit in, my heart was not completely right with God. I would go every Sunday, and it was like a chance to be at home there. And whoever that church is, God bless you for taking the time, for doing a service and then coming out and doing a service on the base. If you only did it for me, you touched my heart and you blessed me. And it was a relief to get away from the drill sergeants, to get away from being away from home and the sadness, and just love on Jesus and see other men and women in uniform praising God was awesome. And so I get back from basic training. I go, do some go to up north of Georgia in Augusta, right where they have the masters, and do a lot of computer network training. Almost failed that out because of one part of it. I wasn't comprehending, wasn't doing well, and almost failed. They're like, you got to retest. And if you fail the test, they were threatening, you're going to have to go infantry or change your whole job and start all over. And I'm like, so I passed it. I passed it. I had to go back a class and catch up the way that was structured. But all they did was throw all this information at you, and you just had to pass the test. You didn't really comprehend and learn it. So, but I got through my computer networking training, went through AIT, and finally got back home. And there was moments when I got back home, finally my buddy got back, and we're going over having parties at his house, drinking still, because there was a lot of drinking during AIT. You'd have the weekend off, we'd go and drink. Nothing sexual, never went and slept with anybody there or anything like that, but still I'd go drinking on the weekends, trying to find a girl, trying to pursue that, but it just never happened. I never went that way. But drinking with buddies and doing all that through the AIT process, because we had a little bit of freedom. Brought my car down. People was like, yeah, Fergie's got a car. We'd go rent a hotel for a night or a weekend, hang out, drink, wake up, go hit golf balls sometimes, go drinking at night, hang out, party in the room, come back, do AIT during the week, and do it again next weekend. And that's kind of what it was. And so when I came back, I was drinking with my buddy and his girlfriend, and just continuing down the same path, just like, yeah, we're military now. Now we're Army guys. We're National Guard Army guys, and we would drink. And there was even a moment where I drove many a times back home from their house drunk. God spared me. I could have been pulled over. I could have got DUIs. I could have hit somebody, killed somebody, and just didn't care. Was drinking, going home, sneaking in mom and dad's house, because I was still staying with mom and dad when I got back from military training, and coming in late, drunk, going to sleep. God protected me. There was a legal thing that happened at one point. I'm not going to go into the details of it, but where God spared me, I could have been arrested. I could have went to jail. I had to settle some things with some people and pay some money. I damaged some property. I was totally drunk out of my mind, went and did something stupid. I could have been arrested. The cops could have showed up and arrested me and took me to jail that night. God didn't see fit for that to happen. So I had to pay some money to some people for some property that was damaged. And the matter was settled. It's something that happened because of the drinking. Yet again, here's another low point after the car getting wrecked, after losing my job. Now I come back from it, and I'm thinking I'm going to get kicked out of the military. I'm going to get, and nothing ever came of it. It was wiped from my record. It was clean. I made it right. I apologized to the people. I paid them the money. Actually, my parents did. I had to pay back my parents and for the property that was damaged. That's all I want to say. But I want to be transparent of this is what was happening. And I was just like, and my parents were just like, what are you doing? Like, and they couldn't understand why this happened. Were you with other people? Were you trying to break into someplace and steal things for drugs? Like, what's going on with you? They're confused about where I'm at in my life. And I was just like, nope. And I didn't mention my buddies. I didn't want to get them in trouble, even though they weren't with me. It was just me. I was just drunk out of my mind, driving, and just in a whole nother world, because I would open myself up to alcohol. And so as I kept going on and on, eventually we get the notice that our armory is going to be deployed. And so we're going to be going over to Iraq. And so everybody's making their plans. Everybody's spending time with their family. And it's like, oh, we're going overseas now, and we don't know what to expect. And this is in 2005. And this is when the war was really raging on, and IEDs were big. So we're thinking the worst, like we don't know what's going to happen. We may never come back. And so, I'd had a talk with my girlfriend at the time. I knew in my heart she was not the one for me, but yet that lustful desire of sexual relationship, I wanted to keep it there, but not go so far as to say I wanted to marry her. So when we broke up right before going, I was like, no, actually I do want to marry you, because it was just a lust for sex. It was a lust for just wanting to sexually have somebody there to be with, to fulfill the desires of the flesh. That's all it was, and that's to be dead honest. And so it was a confusing time. And so we go on and we go, and then we're partying before we go. We've got like 4 months, 5 months, we're stuck in Indiana doing all this training, and the guys are going out, we're drinking, we're hanging out. I'm just like everybody else. We go out to Notre Dame to this big party, and we're partying with these people in the parking lot. We don't even have tickets. We just show up in our uniforms like idiots, and we're drinking with these people we met that are older people, and going out to clubs and just making dumb decisions and drinking. And then we go overseas finally, and my girlfriend that I was supposedly with breaks up with me halfway through the 3 months into the deployment. She's like, yeah, I'm with somebody else. And that just, at that point in my life, just tore me up. But when I got that call, you talk about angry, like what? With the drinking, with the condition of my heart, I was so mad. I called her mom crying, like, why is she doing this? She called me with such and such there, and just, I can't do nothing about it. I'm stuck here, I'm at war, and she wants to call me and just break my heart like this. I'm so sorry. And I set myself up for all of this, but I was just distraught and just destroyed. And so I was so angry. I went right across from that phone trailer, and I went into the PX, and I found the biggest knife. I said, I'm gonna kill her one day. And I had this anger in my heart, and that's why I bought that knife. I still got it, and it reminds me of why I bought that knife. And I've hid it, never even used it. It's brand new, still oiled up and everything. But I was so angry in my heart, I decided I'm gonna kill them. I was so mad. And that's when the depression began. That's when the spirit of suicide came over me. I was like, why am I even here? I don't even care if somebody shoots me. She's over there. And all I could think about, I quit eating, I lost weight, I was down to like 120. Like, I mean, you could see my ribs. I quit eating. I didn't feel like walking to get food half the time. I messed up on my job and missed a formation, so I got kicked off and had another duty for a while. And I was just in the lowest point of my life at that point, and was just like, I don't care. When I'd go out on missions, I'm like, I wish somebody would shoot me. I'm going to destroy this whole village if somebody shoots at me. Come on, bring it on. And I was just like challenging God. That's the only time in my life I've ever been suicidal, but I was at a low point at that. And so it was through that eventually I began to talk to another girl. We had put together a bunch of money and bought a satellite internet system. So we did have internet at this time in 2006 somehow through the satellite. We bought this British system. And so we had MySpace back then. Well, I start talking to this girl named Madison on MySpace, and we just connect, and I start telling her about what I've been through with the ex-girlfriend, and how I'm just depressed. And this girl brings me out of the depression. There's hope, there's life. I go home, drinking with my buddies for 2 weeks. I come back, and I'm back in Iraq again, and for the remainder of the tour, and I meet this girl. So now I'm spending day after day talking to this girl I met online on MySpace, for the kids that don't know what that is, MySpace. And I talk to her day and night for like 3 days. We talk. She's funny, she's laughing, we've got webcam, we're showing one another so we know that she's not a man and I'm not a woman, we are who we are. And she's in college, and I'm in Iraq, and she likes the soldier guy, but and so we talk and get to know each other. Well, this girl ends up going down here while I'm in Iraq. She ends up with her mom going to the church to meet my mom and dad to see if I truly am who I am. And she's like, okay, he wasn't lying, his dad's really a preacher. His mom, they've met, shook hands. He's like, Stephen, this girl, she is beautiful, and her mom is just gorgeous. You've met a very attractive girl. But even then, still my heart wasn't right. I met this beautiful girl, and she gave me hope to make it through that deployment. So I know without a shadow of a doubt, God allowed this girl Madison to come into my life when I was at the lowest point of my life ever, where I was suicidal. I was like, thank you, God. Even though we talked about things we probably shouldn't, and we said things, she lifted up my spirits, and I was so excited to get back to my building whenever I could to talk to Madison. Is she online? And we talked and talked and talked. And then as soon as I got back from the deployment, I went straight up to her college and met her. And after that, soon after, I proposed to her, and today she's still my wife, Madison. And in my weird mind, I'm still dealing with pornography, looking at pornography in Iraq. I'm still dealing with this thing on the inside that I'm addicted to. I developed at this point with the internet in Iraq this addiction throughout the deployment and the mobilization now in Iraq. This now pornography was something you could access online, and I'm also on these chat apps, and I'm talking with people because my girlfriend broke up with me, so I'm trying to find somebody, and some of the conversations are sexual relationships and, hey, send me a picture of you, and oh, you're so hot and all this. Get away from me. And so I'm indulging in conversations with women that I shouldn't have. And so somehow, eventually after meeting Madison and saying, okay, she's beautiful, she is who I've been looking for, I know she's the one for me, I think that marrying this girl is going to help crush all of this. Okay, this addiction I have to women, this addiction, this, the sexting and all the pornography and stuff, this is going to kill all of that, because I'm going to have a girl, and I know that when I get married, I'm able to be with her and her with me. We're able to have sex. God don't care. I can have sex all I want now, and it's going to be cool because God allows it. And this is what's going to fix the problem. And oh boy, how wrong I was. So we end up getting married, and right when we get married, very soon after, she gets pregnant honeymoon night. So it wasn't prior. Our first daughter, Natalie, it was honeymoon night. Madison gets pregnant, and so 9 months, she's going to have a baby. Well, I get word with this new unit I get promoted to as E5 that we're going back to Iraq, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me! I just got back not too long ago. I said I would never go back there again, and here I'm getting deployed again with another unit to Iraq, and I said, well, I'm not staying with my wife in my parents' house, because that's where we were after getting married. She finishes college. We're living with mom and dad for right now, trying to find a place. Well, now we're accelerating that because I'm not going to go to war and have my wife stay with my mom and dad. We need to find a place. So the way the Lord worked it out is because I deployed the first time, I was eligible for a VA loan. And so God provided the house that I'm in right now. There's a miracle in that story that we looked and looked and looked and was like, I give up. I was praying, said, God, I give up. I'm about to leave soon. What do you want me to do? I don't know what to do. Still, my heart ain't right with him, but I'm saying, God, what do you want me to do? I need a house. And they called me 15 minutes later, congratulations, you're a homeowner. And I was like, cool, thanks, God. And so we've been in this home, and that was in 2008. And so now we have a house, and very soon after, my wife's pregnant, I'm gone. And so I get married. So from the last tour when I was in Iraq, now I'm married, now I have a child on the way, and now I'm a homeowner. So it's like life changed for me a lot in that year. And so I got to hold my daughter before I fully got over it, right after she was born. And then when I came back from that tour, she walked to me. But that tour in 2009 was, it was a disaster. It was not, I'm being married newly and then being pulled apart from your wife. The same things were there. The drinking was still there. The talking, the temptation to talk with other girls because I'm not with my wife is still there. And here she's trying to talk with me, deal with the kid in a new home. And here I'm still having these desires, and we're apart. And it's like, that's why the divorce rate of the military is so stinking high. There's people trying to do the right thing. There's people that give up and say, I can't do this, and walk away on both sides. There's a lot of cheating. There's a lot of, sexual activity of, hey, this is just while we're here so I can fulfill needs, but they're married and they never say a word to their spouses. I wasn't sleeping with people, but God stopped some things from happening all the way. And there was a lot of chances there, and there's a lot of things that God intervened because I was newly married. But still, I took it to a point where I was messing up. I was talking with other girls and hanging out with them and not necessarily having sexual relations, but it was cheating. It was not spending the time talking with my wife. It was, I still had this thing in me, and I was fulfilling it by speaking with other people, either through text or through other units. I wouldn't necessarily, go out, but it was not good. And so it continued to build, and we're fighting. And when we'd fight, is another excuse to go and talk with somebody else and do things. And so finally this deployment ends, and that was a very ugly, dark moment. Military wise, it was safe. Nobody got hurt. Everything went fine. But I come back from 2009, and now I've got a wife. I've got a kid that walks to me after I was just holding her before I went. Now Natalie walks to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And now I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm away from the military life with the cursing and the drinking and the talk to whoever you want and your privacy and privacy of your phone. And now I'm with this woman, and those desires have not went away. They're there, and they're maybe even worse now. And so it's all still there. So soon after coming back, every night I'm buying the Captain Morgan. I'm drinking. I'm playing video games. I'm drinking. I'm just hard-hearted, yelling at her. She wants to be with me, but I'm like, because I've got all this mess, hard heart on the inside, and I'm drinking. And there's times in between where I'd say, God, forgive me, but I'm like, whatever. I'm looking at pornography, so that is totally messing with me. I'm self-pleasuring off that because we're fighting, we're having a bad relationship. She's mad at me, I'm mad at her. I'm drinking, I'm playing video games, then I'll go and look at pornography and settle things with me, so I'm good and I'll go to bed, but she's not getting anything from me, and it's just ugly. It's just not it was on the verge of divorce, how bad it was, until I had to get my life right at that point. And there was a moment there, years through, I said, all right, God, I see that I'm going down the wrong road. And somewhere around 2012 or so, I'm like, all right, God, I made an effort to change. And I said, all right, God, I want to do away with the drinking. I know that's wrong, the pornography and this stuff. Help me, God, help me. And there was something that happened. I remember praying to Dad, all right, Dad, I know that I need help. My wife's going to leave me. My life ain't right. I've got to get back to the Lord. I'm so far from him. And still going to church like on Sundays, but so far from God, sitting in the pews, listening to it. Maybe there was a time where I even drank in the parking lot. There was a beer from a party and I drank it in the parking lot at some point, but I was still going to church. I just wasn't living it outside of the church. I went into one of the rooms, shut the door, got my Bible, I read some scriptures, and I said, all right, Lord, here I am. Like I'm drinking, I'm doing all these things. I've got a hard heart. I can't hear from you. I don't even know if you're there at this point. Lord, I need you. I'm surrendering today. Lord, I want you to have your way in my heart. Come and just do what you want to do. And sat there and spent time, and nothing happened. I gave up, got up, said, yeah, Dad. And I called him and I was angry. I said, Dad, I did exactly what you said. Nothing happened. I prayed. He didn't say anything. I don't hear anything. I don't feel any different. He's like, Stephen, he's like, keep going back to him. He will answer you if you'll keep going back with a sincere heart. And I was like, all right, whatever. Talk to you later. And so I was like, whatever. Well, go to work the next day, come back. I said, sitting on the couch doing the same old thing I used to do, watch TV, and I'm thinking, you know what? I need to go in there again and try again. Give it a chance. Give God a chance, right? And so I go into the room, shut the door again, read some scriptures just like I did, read some more scriptures in the New Testament, John likely, and start praying again. But it was different this time. And I was like, Lord, I need you. I need your heart. Please come. Please hear me. And all I can describe is it was like a blanket coming over me. Like it just started at my lower, my butt, and it was like a blanket was just rolling across to the top and just rolled over me. And I just began to cry and weep. And I'm on my face just crying like, what is going on? And it's the Holy Spirit of God. And I just begin to cry and weep and just confess, Lord, I love you. Thank you for hearing me. And he began to just do something in my heart. And so that lasted for however long it lasted. I came out the door, I got my phone, I said, Dad, and I was so excited. I'll never forget. I was getting a bowl of cereal before I go to bed because I was so excited. I just couldn't quit laughing. The joy of the Lord was just overflowing. I'm like just giggling like a little boy, just laughing. And I don't know why I'm laughing. I'm like, Dad, you ain't gonna believe what happened. And he's like, that's awesome, Stephen. That's so awesome. I'm so glad to hear that God answered your prayer. And I was just like, he is real. He answered me. And so and I just began to laugh and giggle the rest of the night. So we'll leave it there for now. We'll do a part 3 next week. But thank you for tuning in as we continue to go through my testimony and share about addictions. And I'm continuing. So I'm at this point where I'm like, all right, God, I'm walking with you. I'm still struggling with the pornography thing here and there. But Lord, I'm going to believe in you. I'm going to trust in you. And I'm trying to live my life for him and be led by him. But still struggling with addiction. So the next midweek quickie, we'll get into more of the meat of what I want to talk about. The real things that have happened more recently. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope this is not boring. Or really, please let me know in the comments below. I don't want to bore you, and I don't want to put anything out there that is like embarrassing to my family or anything, but I want to be transparent on what God has done in me and my story, and I want it to help others. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, and this is what I've lived. This is the things that I know because I've lived it. So I hope you're enjoying it. Please let me know below your thoughts. If it's helped you in any way, let me know. It's more of a story, but I want to get into the meat part and summarize it and finish this off next midweek quickie. So God bless you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. Share it with somebody that needs to hear about addictions, about the ups and downs, the spiritual warfare of walking with the Lord. And I thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time on another midweek quickie video. God bless.